Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an episode. It'll be an episode of the Saturday morning D&D show. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I'm joined always by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Good morning, Mr. Lucian.
Good morning. I say we promise them 2 sessions. No, I'm just kidding.
2 good shows in a row?
Yeah,
I don't know.
in a row? They've never had that in their history. How could that be?
Welcome, Table 1 SG and Nathan White and Gary Aim, I believe. So, yeah, got some people in chat. It's an exciting first Saturday of March. That
Big March, new book out.
Wicked Smarch weather coming out. Yes. Silver Boulet, always nice to see you. Yes, the Candlekeep book, the previews. Which is a list I still can't get on, and I don't know how. I've sent so many emails to Wizards, and they don't want to give me books.
Yeah, one day.
And anyway, but they are out, so people like Ted from Nerd Immersion and a couple of other reviewers are doing some YouTube videos on Candlekeep Mysteries, which is the new book that's coming out this month, and it is going to be, it is a collection of one-shots, basically, or maybe like 1 or 2 shots, but just short adventures. And I was asking a few people who had early books, like, what does it look like? And specifically, I love Amy Vorpal's humor and just her in general. And so I'm really excited for her specific thing. And a couple people told me, they're like, no, I think you'll like hers the most, but it's just like silly and ridiculous. And I was like, okay, yeah, but that's the kind of games that I like to run. So. Right. But have you heard anything about the Candlekeep?
No, I've seen, everybody's getting their early books, so a lot of pictures on Twitter of the covers, and somehow they're getting 2 of them. They couldn't even just send us one of them.
No, yeah, they always send the alternate cover and the regular cover, so yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be nice. One day we'll get that. But no, I haven't seen the interior yet. I've been seeing a few more videos pop up and some art about some of the adventures themselves. Like one was the canopic jar, I think I saw a picture of, and I think that's Gretchen. I forget her last name. I'd have to look back on Twitter, but there was one of the authors that put that up there, and hers was up there, and then, but I haven't seen them all. I think they're slowly kind of pushing them out there and getting them out. But I'm wondering if each one, like in the book, is it a artwork of, like, it's a book of something, like it's its own book, so you can see the cover of what that adventure is and the binding and the things. That'd be kind of cool if it was books within books kind of thing.
I don't know if the books are, like, because you're in the library of Candlekeep, and I don't know if every book has art, but that Dragon Plus article seemed to indicate that it was like, you find this book, and they have like a really cool picture of some like soggy book, and then you go inside and there's like a water adventure or something like that.
Yeah, I hope that's what it is.
Yeah, and I the idea is that you're going into these books, I think, and actually having the adventures. So it's kind of interesting. We were talking on I was talking late last night with some people, and they were saying that Descent into Avernus with the Baldur's Gate adventure, there's a stopping point at Candlekeep. To get some stuff done, and this is a perfect, like, I could go and do this, and but ideally you could really put this anywhere. They don't even have to be books. Like, if it's just kind of like, this adventure takes place in a swamp, and then you could sidevert your party over there by a swamp or something. So it'd be fun.
Or I'm sure everybody's homebrew campaign must have some big library that collects all the works and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, everybody always throws that kind of a Library of Alexandria in there of some sort to have some cool thing. So I'm sure they could fit it in. But yeah, like you said, I'm sure they could fit anywhere where they make sense. I'm sure you could. I like the idea of maybe you expanding on it. Like, I think I wasn't big into the mysteries, but I like the hook of, what if the adventurers came to that library and they just perused the shelves for whatever adventure they wanted. Yeah. And then, like, they would pick a book, and they would say, okay, DM, we want to do Dragon on the Mount here. This looks like a cool book. They pull it off the shelf, and then the DM's like, okay, next session you guys are playing this, and it's almost like a what's the TV show that was kind of similar to that, like The Lion in the Wardrobe, where they would open the thing up and they would walk into a whole nother world, There's lots of books about that where you're reading a book, but you fall into the book, or the Alice in Wonderlands and the that kind of thing. So I think that'd be kind of cool. You could do your whole campaign around what's called an adventure library, and adventure groups come up and they check out a library book that's an adventure. They go and they get stuff and items and gold, and then they check the book back in, and somebody else could do that
would be an interesting website to create, like adventure library or something. And if you could get some kind of like 3D game aspect where you walk around and like books like vibrate at you, like pick me, I want to be your adventure.
Or you know what it really reminds me of too? It's very anime in one way, but remember in Final Fantasy, you'll know this because you played it. You would get these little plates that were called guild levies, and they would have a picture of an adventure on them, and then you would select between them. Like in their opening scene was the adventure party around a table, and they had 3 or 4 of these almost like gilded gold plates that they were going to choose what adventure they were going to go on.
Like Wishbone, yes.
And the guy pushes it forward, the one that they do, and then they dive into the way the animation goes. So that's what it really would feel like to me. Like I could see a whole animation show about there's this adventure library that adventurers come to, and then and the whole thing's about a first level party who's just formed, and they're trying to figure out what adventures, and maybe they go to the wrong stack, so they get one that's too high, or they find something that nobody else has found before, and that gives them something really big and makes them really cool in some way. So I could see that as just like a Saturday morning show. I'm going to trademark that, so don't anybody steal that. Disney, don't take this from me.
Don't do it, Disney. That's weird.
I think it'd be cool. I don't know. I'm interested to see how they do mystery adventures. I'm still interested to see what written mystery adventures look like, and if they're good or if they're just so-so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, it's all author based, but like with Chris Perkins leading the team, I think it would be really good. Man, saying the words Chris Perkins reminded me, this is a tangent, but I had a weird dream last night that I was at a convention and Chris Perkins was there, but it was a D&D convention. And I kept trying to like get close to the stage because Chris Perkins was talking all about how cool. No, it was a Magic the Gathering convention. Sorry. And I was trying to get to the stage to talk to Chris Perkins about D&D. And he's like, I'm here for Magic the Gathering. Get away. And I'm like, no, but I'm a big fan. He's like, I don't care. And he was quite rude to me. But in his defense, I was a jerk wanting to ask him all about Dungeons and Dragons at a Magic the Gathering conference.
You don't understand.
That was weird. That just popped back into my head. I had the weirdest dreams last night. But awesome. No, I like mysteries when they're done well, and there was a Scarab mystery that I've ran, I think 3 times now because I like it so much for 3 different groups, and it's just a fun mystery because, and it's a high level mystery, which is something that I think is difficult to pull off when you have players who can do speak with dead and be like, there was a murder. Okay, let me talk to this guy. Who murdered you? Stuart. Go get Stuart. The spell doesn't lie. But in this case, it was like you could use all of those tools, and those tools very cleverly gave you clues, and then you, the player, had to put it together, and I like that. It was fun. Excuse me. But yeah, so that's coming out the 12th specifically. I don't remember. We're a bad show.
Notes.
We're a bad show.
But I assumed it was coming out this next week because usually when everybody starts getting their books and posting on Twitter, they're about a week ahead of everybody else, but not much.
Yeah.
If I scroll down, we must have the actual date somewhere in one of our notes, right?
And there are some Ravenloft videos that are going out because of the new Ravenloft book, and D&D Beyond is going full bore with their new YouTube guy. I want to say his name is Joe. He's very, very charismatic and fun. And Joe and a lady named Sage that I didn't really know of on the internet, and Amy Dallin, who did a lot of Geek and Sundry stuff back in the day, and she's also just a really cool, amazing person. The 3 of them have been talking about Ravenloft and the upcoming setting and what it means and just like things that they're excited for. Have you seen any of these, Mr. Lucian?
I have not. It is March 16th.
March 16th
comes out, just so we all know, 10 days from now.
So,
no, but anything Amy does, I'm definitely going to check out because she's huge in the community, the geek kind of role play community, board game community.
She was on that Star Trek role play game
really
for
good
like
role-play.
that was like a 2 or 3 year game, I think.
Yeah,
she was on that for a long time.
And does really good stuff with a lot of the good people. I always think of them as kind of the West Coast, the LA RPG scene, like they're at the top of it kind of thing. So something that, we as, or me as Midwestern never really gets to do, or those kinds of things. But, I realize there's Hollywood aspects to some of the community out there. So I would definitely watch it. Although again, Candlekeep Mysteries wasn't huge on my list. Ravenloft isn't really, my mind could change, but Ravenloft wasn't one I was dying to go buy. Although if these, 30 different Planes of Dread could be really cool, maybe there's some other cool ones in there that will really grab my attention besides the Strahd vampire. Because to me, how would you describe you and your wife, and I believe she has a podcast about this.
Yes,
it's kind of like vampire aficionados, right? The
I would say I am not
vampires,
but
but
I would say my wife is. Yes,
right. So I should have her. Maybe you should go get her for a second for this question. But you would probably know this because you sit there and watch it with Oliver. You enjoy that hobby with her, so the width and breadth of the vampire styles of stories, right? Where does Strahd sit in that kind of type of vampire story? Is he more Bram Stoker? Is he more comical? Is he more, once bitten? Where does he fall?
I mean, vampires are like, they're reimagined so many times.
Yeah, everything from Twilight to...
It's a classic monster movie thing. But I personally believe that all of the domains of dread are reflections of those classic monsters of zombies and Frankenstein and
mummies
and things like that.
Lagoon.
And so Ravenloft really was a reflection of Dracula. And that's I guess that's an opinion. Like, I don't have fact that it was based on that, but a lot of, he's a ancient vampire that lords over a community and lives in a castle and harasses people.
Do people play Strahd as Dark Strahd? Do they play people as funny Strahd? Do they play him as like a, what?
Well, playing, that's a hard question because I don't know what other people are playing in their games. You could play Strahd however you want. Like, what was Indoor Adventure's channel? They ran Ravenloft, and they made Strahd a woman, and it had a lot of different changes to it and stuff. But ultimately, he is a terrorizing villain. He's 100% evil, and from what I've read of the Barovia mythos and stuff, Strahd could just come in and kill you. You're like a level 2 whatever. But for him, it's more fun to like break you emotionally and do all these interesting, evil things to you. There was now I'm getting into weird lore, but there was a dragon in Lord of the Rings in the Silmarillion, and that dragon lost his own life because it meant more to him to like have this elf commit these atrocities. And at the cost of his own life, he's like, I'm going to die, but that elf has to live with the fact that he killed his brother for the rest of his life or something. And so I always thought of Strahd as that kind of evil, like where Strahd would probably sacrifice himself if it meant that you were like emotionally destroyed for the rest of your life. So, but that's how I would play Strahd, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just thinking there's lots of ways, like if you've watched, there's just so many different takes on vampires. Everything from... You can sit down with your kids and watch a vampire show and it not be too crazy. A Buffy or a cartoon about it, or the Hotel Transylvania or something like that, all the way over to the end where it's nothing but huge gore fest, or it's a huge, super dark story, Bram Stoker style, kind of story. See, it's just a crazy mix of it, and I just wonder what are the other domains of Dread going to be like then? Is the same thing, or are they really going for a dark campaign setting? Do they want a hardcore dark campaign setting, and that's what this is?
No,
Or
I think
want
they
a more
want
friendly family?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
they
so-
want to give you the tools where you can make it as dark as possible. But again, not having seen the original Ravenloft was very dark, I think, and wasn't necessarily intended for like 10-year-olds. But I think as
That's
you
where
know
I was
the hobby has matured and just the world right nowadays and things like that, the mentality is let's give the dungeon master the abilities to make it as dark as he or she wants. But you don't have to play it that way, you know? And so my Wednesday video on my main channel was about Lemordia. And Lemordia is another domain of Dread, just like Barovia is. And every domain of Dread has a Dark Lord. And Strahd is the Dark Lord of Barovia. And he is tied to Barovia just as much as the rest of the people, but it really is his prison. Like, even though he controls all of that, he can never leave. And that's the punishment of Strahd. And Lemordia has a Frankenstein theme. So there's a Dr. Mordenheim who is obsessed with creating life, and he stitches together this guy and brings him to life, and that creature's name is Mordenheim's monster, and it's called Adam. And it straight up is a thing. And one day Adam goes crazy and kills Mordenheim's wife and steals their adopted daughter and runs off, and he kidnaps children and people, and nobody knows what's happening. And it's very dark, but like, you don't necessarily have to play it like that. And again, that's the second edition that I'm going off of. So, but yeah, I think the more I'm studying Ravenloft, and I've got more videos planned for the next, 3 or 4 weeks, Ravenloft really is like, let's take a monster concept and build a world around it. And so here's that. And the one I'm studying right now is Falkovnia. And Falkovnia is very like zombie centric. And so it's like, what do you do when zombies are a problem, you know? And in Falkovnia, it's what do you do when there's this unstoppable, like 6'7" monster that lives on this island that's running around kidnapping us. We can't attack it. Every time we do, people die. And so they are just living in fear, much like how you're living in fear with Vampire Strahd. So, yeah.
It all sounds awesome as movies and readable stories. I'm really curious to see how it is a playable tabletop. Like,
there's always
can
an
you get
objective.
your fear? Yeah, can you get your players to have a little bit of fear? Can they role play their characters with a little bit of fear? Does it not offend anybody in any way? Because you got to be careful about triggering traumas, because all people have traumas of some sort, during their life. So, you're trying to create a story and you may not know of something. A car accident could trigger something, or, somebody fell off a cliff, and that
spiders. Like, I was in a game where
I
was in a game where the DM was going in depth about how big and awful these spiders were. And then you start looking around the room and you're like, Josh over there does not enjoy this. And he didn't. He was like, I don't like this at all. But and I think that's session 0 stuff, but at least the second edition Ravenloft material had new rules to say, here are the spells that work and here are the spells that work differently, to keep it a mystery, because if you're a paladin and you walk in to Barovia and you detect evil, well, now you know that this person's evil. I better just go kill him. He's not going to tell us the truth. Well, you can't do that in a Barovia setting. So they changed the rules, and then there were new fear and madness mechanics. And I really think that they're going to expand upon what's in the DMG for this particular setting, because it is so different. And like we were talking last week with Ravenloft, I think that's the new direction for D&D 5e. It's like, we've done the fantasy thing. Now you can take all of these optional rules, and then when you do optional rules, Ravenloft works. When you do optional rules, this setting works, because you're limiting races and things like that. Like, I don't know, playing the Magic the Gathering Theros setting, if I used all of those rules, that, like all the god rules and stuff, that wouldn't really work for a Ravenloft setting. But it works really well for Theros and the type of Theros game you want. And the funny melting pot, I think, is the Forgotten Realms, because you could be like, yeah, I want to run like a creepy, creepy Ravenloft game or something there. So,
so I'm interested.
I would encourage you to read it. I mean, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting and it's fun. I'm enjoying researching it. So,
yeah, I'm hoping that's what it will be. And not every book has to hit for every person. Not every book is for every person. There's lots of different sub communities out there within our big tabletop community. And if I don't get a couple of books, I'm not going to put out tweets where I'm ranting and raving how Wizards of the Coast doesn't build anything good anymore or anything like that. It's just like, I realize that maybe a book will miss with me or not, but I'm also willing to be pleasantly surprised. Saltmarsh was that way with me, where everything I heard up until it was like, okay, so it's, some adventures. I like the idea of a nautical theme. I love that, but I wasn't getting too hyped. And then I read that first chapter and I was all in on that book. Like, I was like super surprised how good and how much it connected with, I do want to run this book, or I do want to, read all these adventures and see where they go. And I can't imagine how fun an adventuring group would have trying to figure this stuff out and maneuver their way through this whole intrigue that's going on in this part of the world, and that it can be set anywhere. So I think I'm going to have like lowered expectations, which make it easier for me to be surprised, which would be good, because you don't want to go in with higher expectations and be angry, internet angry at that point. So I'm excited to read them. I'm not, we'll see. And then I'm excited to see, okay, well, if those are the two books that missed for me, I bet at the end of the year, there'll be some books that really hit for me. Then at some point, if they throw, anything else out there that's a planeswalking, a spelljammer, a Dark Sun, a Greyhawk, a Dragonlance, any of those other things, I think I'd be really interested in to see what the 5e version of those are. Not that we need them. We've said that a million times on the show. You can go back and get the older editions and play those in 5e easily. The conversion from any one of those is very easy. We've done it.
Even this Ravenloft stuff, the more I was reading it, I'm like, all it is ideas, locations, and you find equivalent monsters and you have a good time. So
it's not that we need a 5e version, but it's
still fun to see new art, new interpretations.
A 5e version. Yeah. Because you got a different design team, and they have different ideas, and they can maybe take other ideas a different direction than maybe what other designers took it when they had their chance. So.
Silver Boulay says he's going to take a Lamortia with the Frankenstein monster and run a Rocky Horror game. And so
I can see that being fun.
It would be a lot of fun in a very different game, A
really, really fun one that I don't see a lot of could be a mummy, Egyptian, ancient tomb, ancient kingdom kind of theme in the desert. That could be a really fun kind of Indiana Jones kind of game. A Scorpion King kind of game. I think that could be really fun too. So that'd be an interesting domain of the dread for if there's like a mummy version of that, or a creature from the Black Lagoon, Amazon jungles and swamps. You could put it in Cholt.
Amazon driver jungles.
And if there's 30 of them, that's a lot of classic monsters if there's 30 domains of dread. So what else is there then? We're talking about the common ones. What are some of the uncommon ones you can think of then?
Oh man, well they've only announced 3. That would be cool. No, I think there's like a Cthulhu-y setting, like I said, I read the second edition Ravenloft book is kind of interesting because here's like a snapshot, and I think it was designed to sell modules. So like I read, let's use Lamortia again. So I read Lamortia and I'm just like, oh, like a cool Frankenstein kind of thing. That looks awesome. How would I play that? And then in that setting, they're like, by the way, you should check out these adventures or something. And so then I go and I read the adventures, and there's a whole adventure called Adam's Wrath that's about Mordenheim's monster. And it's like a 3-part thing, and you can go from levels like 7 to 11 or something. And so it's fun. And then the idea, I think, is you go to another domain of dread and you have another adventure there. One of the adventures that I read was about a guy who has mind control powers, and it kind of felt like that Go to the Cornfield kid from the Twilight Zone. And
Wow, yeah.
so this, and I can't remember his name because he's not
Children
next week's video, so I haven't really done it. But he controls a lot of the government, but from behind the scenes. So the entire adventure is kind of like, you see that there's a lot of problems here, but you can't find that central, like, what is causing all of these problems until you actually discover that it's not necessarily a little boy in this case, but a man who has the power of suggestion and what have you, and is controlling things from behind the scenes. So that is a very different one from a werewolf running around, you know. And so,
classic monster. Yeah. Pumpkinhead, remember that movie? That crazy movie about crazy creatures that happen because some small town believes in something or does a ritual of something, or somebody does something and it unleashes something bad. There's all kinds of stories like that. Children of the Corn. Could you imagine a D&D campaign based on that storyline of the children going crazy? No, I don't even want to do it.
That'd be fun. I did a horror game where, well, it wasn't horror. It was just a Halloween game where my party came to a small town, and all of the parents were throwing the kids outside of the house and then like locking and bolting up the doors. And the kids are just like, Mom, let me back in. And so our heroes are just like, what's going on? And then when the sun set and the moon got out, all of the kids turned into monsters. And that's why the parents were doing this, because they knew it was like the full moon. Yeah. And so it was fun because they weren't super difficult monsters, but my party was like, wait, these are kids. Like, we can't attack them. So their whole strategy was like trying to get away from the kids and running from them and then not hurting them. And it made for an interesting encounter. It was kind of fun. So Headless Horseman, that's another good one. So there's lots of
I'm interested to see 30 different domains of dread, 30 different types of dread, you know? That's
existential, financial. There's all kinds
financial dread.
All kinds of dread. So that, again, we're really excited. Actually, and this is something that I wanted to bring up that is somewhat in relation, I guess. But YouTube has, for a while, had this hashtag system that if you are uploading a video, you could put a hashtag in there. And so some people are like, I don't know, maybe it helps with the algorithm, and they're just kind of putting in hashtags. Well, now YouTube has made it work where if you search for a hashtag or click on a hashtag at the bottom of a video, it'll open up a new window, or not a new window, but a page that has all of the other videos that people have linked those hashtags to. So specifically, if you go and search hashtag Ravenloft, you'll find all of the videos that a lot of content creators have been making about Ravenloft. Some of them like a year old because people just liked this setting. So utilize that, because I think a lot of times the YouTube algorithm doesn't find you the things you want. And if you can search by hashtag, then you know, like, oh, the creator specifically was talking about Ravenloft in this video. So I was doing that this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, they finally made this work. And I was very excited to search that. So just the pound sign and that. Don't do it now because you're watching a live video. But
what's our hashtag for the show then?
I think it's SMD&D show is our hashtag. Yeah.
But we need more too. We need like Dungeons and Dragons or something.
Yeah, I know you put a whole bunch in there, so I just like it.
That's cool.
Really cool search function. YouTube's just getting better, so that's good. In other news, Adam Bradford has officially got his new job as Chief of Development Officer for like a D&D Beyond. No, I don't want to say clone, but like I think they're offering a very similar service. So it's kind of interesting that he's going here. But it's called Demiplane.
Which is a good name.
It's the name of an RPG web-based service, and they are. I haven't really checked them out. I haven't even made an account yet. I should probably make a free account.
I made an account this morning, Jordan.
Oh, well, what do you tell us all about it?
Well, so far,
what's your password? I'll log in.
But we'll log in. It looks to be like right from the front screen, highly polished so far, with not a ton of content quite yet. There is a join open adventures or create your own adventure, and they have cool little tiles of artwork, and then how many seats are filled, and then when does the game run, and then if it's a match to your parameters, because in your profile you put in parameters of what things you like.
It's a matchmaking service.
And then
for
you can
players
click
and
on the tiles if you want to maybe sign up for that game. It's definitely geared towards free games, but also robust enough that it's doing pay per session games. So dungeon masters can put up and say, hey, if you want to join this game, $2 for a session, jump in. I'm running it for however long. And then you can, there's tipping of the GM. There's some other things like that. What I haven't found, because I haven't dived into anything yet, it's supposed to have video and voice for your games, which I would love to test out. So I was thinking maybe me and you could test it out at some point.
Yeah.
And take a look at it. It has a place to save files, so I'm assuming we could share character sheets and maps and things. But I don't know if it necessarily has a full VTT yet, though they make mention as that's the direction they're going.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to make their own virtual tabletop. They're putting in a way to find each other, very Roll20-ish, but maybe better than even how Roll20 does it, as far as matchmaking or finding a session that you could jive with. And so that's what I've seen so far. There's quite a few tiles in there that when I looked in it, I'm seeing maybe 20-ish, all kinds of games, not just D&D. I'm seeing a GURPS game in here, a Pathfinder 2E. I'm seeing some pretty good artwork. You can create your own portal, share your own adventure. But it's a little vague on everything you can do still.
Well, it's
far.
New. I guess that's the point. But from
the
articles I read, they want to do not only D&D, but like any role playing game, which kind of feels like Roll20. And I know you enjoy Roll20, and I don't want to like bash on Roll20. Boy, their user interface has remained the same for like so long, and I feel like they could have updated it. And yes, I can buy adventures in D&D or in Roll20, like D&D adventures. I can even buy DCC adventures now, but they don't. I don't know if you could like D&D Beyond. It just kind of flows really well, and like. If I invite you to an adventure that I bought, you can then see those magic items and equip them and things like that. And so I don't know, but it's interesting. They want to do, D&D Beyond is going to be D&D, but fandom in general is branching out with the Cortex system they want to create. And I bet I would put money on it that D&D Beyond is going to make a virtual tabletop at some point as well. Because why would we want you to leave our service to go to Roll20 to see a map? Why can't you just stay on our service to see a map with dice rolls and everything else that they have already going for them? So competition's good, I guess, I think this will be awesome. Demiplane, we'll see where it goes. Right now, it's just really new. But that was the offer he couldn't refuse. Was Adam Bradford went to Demiplane because of that. So they were always saying that he just was like, it was too good to pass up. So it's interesting.
And D&D Beyond was a character creator for one game that expanded from that, right?
Yeah.
Or starting to expand, or has ideas about expanding from that. Roll20 was a virtual tabletop that allowed you that expanded into bringing in official adventures, and they had electronic character sheets, but they were more things you just filled out. They wasn't, I would say, as robust as like a D&D Beyond. But the tabletop, the key to that one, I thought that they nailed was the lighting for tokens. They got really that piece was really good for what they did, but they haven't really done too much else with that. And I still think it's too much white on that. They need like a night mode for that.
Yeah. And there's another service called Start Playing Games, startplaying.games. And they've been doing paid DMing, matchmaking, finding people, putting people together for games. But I don't think they don't have a virtual tabletop. So it kind of sounds like this is combining the idea of Roll20, D&D Beyond, and start playing games into one thing called Demiplane. And I mean, that would be the ultimate goal, because you want people to just stay within your site. Somebody,
I feel like it's a matchmaker first.
It is.
And
That's what it feels like to me.
Moving from so just knowing kind of what their thing was, their core was first, and how they're expanding from that may help you decide which one you like. Because now there's like Astro VTT out there. I think I've seen 6 different virtual tabletop companies start up in the last year.
Oh yeah.
So there's a bunch of them out there now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was just thinking this is a great way to like test games that you're writing and stuff too. Because if you could just be like, hey, I want to like play test this and see who's interested, and like, because as I'm trying to write a game, it is difficult to find A, time, but B, also people that are like, yeah, I'll play your weird game. I don't know what. So, good morning, AJ Pickett. Always lovely to see you in our chat. The lore master himself.
I like the artwork. I like the style of the webpage. It's modern. It's evocative. Like when you're looking at these tiles, I'm like, yeah, I want to play in these games. There's like a couple of me where I'm like, this is pretty good. I don't know where all this artwork's coming from. I don't know if it's just the creators putting it up there or not, but there's a couple of them in there. I'm like, I want to jump into this and see what's going on. This is good stuff. So.
We'll keep it on the. We'll figure it out and we'll see. We'll keep a pulse. We'll keep looking at it. Words, but we'll keep following up on it and see where it goes, because I'm curious about that as well. So, that's about. I mean, we talked a long time, but that's news. Now we're gonna jump into College of Monsters, which is.
I did have one more news.
Oh, you have one more news. It's not on our thing.
Before you do a roll.
Oh my gosh!
Did you see this on Twitter? I've been seeing it that there's been a villain cast for the D&D movie.
Oh yeah, it's Hugh Grant, isn't it?
Hugh Grant. What's going on here?
So they're, which, Penny Arcade did a really good comic on Friday where they were like, I'm not excited about a D&D movie. Like, that's like saying, what's for dinner? Kitchen. Like, you use the kitchen to make dinner, just like you use D&D to make a story. Like, make a Forgotten Realms movie or a Dragonlance movie or this movie. So, but I do want to go back. The idea of a Lego movie was kind of like, what? And that was a very good movie. So I think that they're banking on brand recognition more than story things. So, but
I thought that was funny. I saw that.
Hugh Grant is, he's never played. He doesn't play
because the cast we're seeing is a very interesting, eclectic, some pretty big names here and there, some up and coming actors, some actors that have been in a lot of big movies. So it's an interesting cast they're throwing together for this story. We have no idea what it's about yet, or not even a clue what type of D&D story it'll be. So it's interesting. I thought that was interesting. So College of Monsters, though, we've had some good ones in the last couple of days, or the last couple of episodes.
So I better transition to our random monster generator.
We've been getting a lot of 200 area ones too, I've noticed. So I'm waiting for the random generator to give us some crazy low number or crazy high number. 12 or 316? Somewhere in there.
12 and 316. So let's here it is. Okay, I'm gonna hit generate. 173.
Okay.
What do you think?
Still pretty high up.
Is
173.
Ooh, a Grick. Did we do a Grick? We did a Grell.
We did the Grell.
Okay.
Right?
So the Grick is very similar.
Yes.
But yeah. People of the internet, I know you're out there. You're watching the show right now. You're listening to the show.
Right in the camera. Look them in the eye.
Somebody make us a monster generator. Like, or a page number picker, but through all of the books of D&D, so I could just like we need to find that, and then I could just pick a random monster, because although there are a lot of monsters in the monster manual, Lucian's right. It would be more fun to see all of the ones from Volo's Guide and Mordenkainen, things like that. So
or even the old stuff. It'd be fun to do old monster manuals too.
Yeah.
First edition, second editions, third
that would
editions,
be cool too.
Fourth editions.
So a Grick and a Grick Alpha. So I'm going to search Grick here. You guys can see
that's
my
what we should do.
screen
Every
is
other
doing really good.
We should do a different edition. Not only can we talk about how you'd use it, but we could talk about how you'd convert it to work in 5e.
Yeah,
which would be fun too.
I need to do.
So Gricks are pretty. I mean, I've seen a couple in adventures I've ran. I've got to use them against my players. They're a fun creature to use because they can be a challenging ambush type creature to throw against a
There we go.
pretty lowish level party, but still have fun and still be alien enough that they're scary in some ways. They're not of this world, they're a very kind of classic D&D monster kind of thing.
Yeah. So they're a worm-like monstrosity that blends in with the rock of the caverns it haunts. When prey comes near, its barbed tentacles unfurl to reveal a hungry, snapping beak.
Yeah. This is Tremors. If you watch the movie Tremors, completely.
It waits unseen, blending in with rock. They are passive predators. They are roving ambushers. Yeah. So I don't know. They're a level or CR2, but a Grick Alpha is CR7.
I love the alphas. I've used the alphas quite a bit. They are a fun throw them at your party. They're 4th or 5th level, but a group of them can take them on.
They burrow, they squeeze, they do all kinds of terrible things. Do they have a climb speed, but they don't have a burrow speed. That's interesting. Especially when it says they burrow. But climb is kind of fun because then they can go up walls and stuff. How would you use a Grick or a Grick Alpha, sir?
I like them. I'll tell you one way, and it wasn't even my idea, but I was running spoilers. We should put our spoilers banner up. Storm King Thunder. And what a cool creature to use to come at them when they're in the snow and icy mountains. And this thing comes ramping out of ice and snow to go after the players. That was a really fun kind of creature. And I love the idea of anything that has that expanding mouth, and that you can kind of sell that whole scene in your game where something pops out, there's big jaws, but then they have some type of other like claws and talons around them that are shaking or hissing or making a noise, and they expand to much bigger than they are. That's why the Predators are really crazy cool, and why Aliens was so cool, because you would have the look of the alien, which was pretty cool, but then it would open its mouth or it would do something, or the Predator would make its howl and it would do something. That's what I always imagine these Gricks are kind of like, I'm such a Tremors movie fan that I would do a full-on Tremors episode in one of my adventures as a one-off and just have these things. And I would probably give them a little bit more capability of moving around in the ground fast and big distances to be able to surprise the players and dodge the players' magic for a while and make it hard on them. Not that they won't be able to eventually kill them or find a way to kill them, but make it a little bit tougher than maybe they are in the book. But I like them. They're, very worm-like, tentacly, big beak, almost like that big chomping, maybe squid-like beak, or I've seen it drawn more like bird beaks sometimes, but I think of like the big squids, those big chomping mandibles, and I just think it's a cool creature to describe. It's very fun too if you're describing this to players who don't know D&D, because you can get into not telling them what it is or showing them a picture, but just like saying things and watching their eyes go, what? It has like, that type of mandible, and it's a big snake, but it has tough scales on it, and then it has these tentacles that can reach out and grab you and grapple you so you can't get away from it, and there's talons on the end of those and suction cups and stuff. I mean, you can really get into it and then show them the picture and be like, what? That's what we're fighting? So I think it's kind of a cool, that's the classic way. That's not the out of the box, thinking for this, but I just like thinking about the Grick a lot because I've used it in a bunch of campaigns. I'm sure you must have thrown Gricks at your players at some point.
I don't think I have. I don't think I've ever used a Grick, but they're fun.
You should put them in your Dragon on the Mount.
I should just write another adventure. Let's be honest.
Yeah, part 2 Dragon.
Part 2. Dragons. Grick on the Mount. Yeah. So AJ says you only see the beak when they peel back those ripping tentacles to attack.
Yeah.
They should rain off a Tarask like a parasite. Yes, that would be cool.
Or a Grick Hydra, a 7-headed one of these would be very cool. Good. I like that.
So one of the little things in the lore there said that they live in the Underdark, but they do come up every once in a while if there's not enough food in the Underdark. And they'll hide in trees and stuff.
That's a good story.
So what if you have like the Grick tree, and these things look like some kind of weird hanging fruit bulb, like from the branches. And so perhaps to keep the Gricks from coming into the community, every, I don't know, 30 days or something, someone is sacrificed and they draw lots. And then that person is like shoved into the Grick tree. And then it's one of those, like, they're looking up, but they're trying to, I don't know. And I'm thinking of like Alien, like the opening of the pods, but instead it's from above, and the tentacles open and like snack. Yeah, they snack down on a victim, so to speak.
Or like a Grick pit, like in Indiana Jones, where he gets thrown into the snake pit.
I like that. Why did it have to be Gricks? That's my next character. I'm making a Underdark Ranger who's like archaeologist. Why did it have to be Gricks? That could be fun. It could also, what if you had a pet Grick? Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking this would be a cool ranger pet,
this
right?
This would be a good ranger, or any kind of pet, really. Like, I don't know, maybe a warlock pet or something. Not necessarily a familiar, but
I was thinking too, a cool thing visually. What if you had like 4 of these that were attached to a carriage, and they pulled the carriage along? Because they have the ultimate off-road body. Like there's nothing they can't climb or get over or move around. I mean, that's what the snake body's perfect for. So yeah, they would make great pullers of wagons and carts and things. And so maybe you have maybe they're just like a domesticated animal of some sort, and you have a Grick farm and you sell to farmers who use them to pull plows. And there could be an interesting thing for your players to come into, to maybe offset how different this new kingdom they're moving into looks or acts or is, because they have found a way to harmonize with these creatures in probably a good way. They take care of them. They're not abusive to them. They're not killing them. They're using them, but they're feeding them. They're keeping them healthy, and they use them like a domesticated animal. But they're just such a strange looking creature that your players are like, what kingdom are we in? What is going on here? That could be kind of fun too.
Also a very I know you like Stranger Things, but a very upside down looking creature that if you are doing a weird, like the Shadowfell bleeding into the real life, this could be a good starting creature. And you're just like, what's happening? Like every so often there's a flash of light from the Russian controlled something, and then we start finding these weird creatures running around, and they're like eating our cattle.
Where everything's in the mist and things are coming in and out of the mist, and these kinds of things would be, because if you don't see them coming, they can do a lot of damage to your party pretty quick if they can move in and out, and they can't be seen. So all of a sudden your long range people can't do much. Your spells aren't working as well. And they're just going in and out of water. They're going in and out of mist. They're going in and out of the darkness, that for some reason you can't see. Those are all be kind of really cool stuff too, I think.
Well, they're fast, and they have a lot of damage resistance, and they are really good at camouflage. So I like the idea of an ambushing Grick tree. Or like you said, like maybe they flatten themselves down, and you can't, all of a sudden they're just like, but we lost them. They're in the mountains, or they're in the field, or don't go into the tall grass. That's where the Gricks hang out. So
the cornfields. Oh my God. Like the farmers can't go out and harvest because the Gricks are out there. You've been hired to take care of them, but you're like, I don't want to go out there. Do you want to go out there? You're like, hell no, that's 6 foot of corn. I'm not going out there with that type of creature crawling around in there.
That's where you take the fighter blind fight, and then
you would have to do something, right? Because you would have no line of sight. It'd be interesting. That could be a really fun style of combat for a night or two with your party, where it really throws their tactics upside down, right? Because they're just so used to knowing what they can do, and all of a sudden they're walking through tall sugar cane, or they're walking through, like you said, tall grass, or whatever, and the just visibility's down to 5 feet or 10 feet or something. It's just,
which would be really cool on Roll20, going back to virtual tabletops, where you are like, well, where's my teammates? I don't know. And you can't see your teammates. You can hear them, you can talk to them, but you don't know where they are exactly. So
yeah. So I like it. It's similar to some of the other creatures we've talked about. I like the Grick Alpha for sure. The just bigger, badder version of this whole thing. I like the idea of having a group of them. I love the idea of modifying it to like a Grick Hydra. That was kind of a fun idea. Or even if it was like, what's the other creature that has the snakes that come up off the body, but it's like a jaguar or a tiger or a lion or something. It's like has the
Chimera,
the cat. No, I thought it was in Chult. It's in Tomb of Annihilation. I think it's like a leopard body and face, but it has snakes that come up off its body.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got a crazy name that I keep forgetting. Well, Displacer Beast is close too. That's like the panther one. But yeah, if the tentacles were Gricks, would be kind of cool. It starts with a C.
Camadon?
Yeah, that's the one I was
K?
trying to think of.
Camadon.
Yeah, K. Sorry.
Kamehameha.
Those were cool. Those showed up in our Tomb of Annihilation game, and those were fun. We wanted that for a Ranger bet too. So I think there should be like these. Should be a candidate for a Ranger pet. Special quest. Your Dungeon Master lets you go on it. It's a fun, cool thing, and then at the end of it, you get a cool Grick as your pet. That would be super fun.
Yeah, I feel like they need to increase more than just beasts.
Monster pet.
For Ranger pets.
Beasts are not enough.
And
yeah,
also the CR needs to go up. Like if you're level 10, give them a CR2 Grick. Like that's cool.
Yeah. Or like even half, because at that point, if it's half a year level, I don't think it's that tough compared to what you'll be fighting. So maybe if you want to put a number on it to make it easy. So
man, the 3rd edition Camadon is not nearly as cool as the 5th edition one.
Yeah. The 5th edition one was fun.
Like the artwork wise, the 3rd edition one just has like a few snakes out of its head, but they don't even look like snakes. But the 5th edition one, there's like
full
15 snakes coming out of its back. Like it's so cool.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, big cat. No, big snakes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, fun times. I
like it.
Are you playing any games, Mr. Lucian?
No, I keep working too much. And
stop it. Stop working.
Yeah. So I was not able to. We're still mid-fight with an Obeleth at the moment. We're not out of that yet. I couldn't play Tuesday.
Oh, the demon? An Oberith?
No, Obeleth. Oboleth. Obeleth, I think.
What's an Obeleth?
Look that one up. You'll like that.
Oh, an Aboleth.
Oh.
Is that what you're thinking? Okay, yeah. I was like, what?
That's still wrong. Okay, GIF.
Yeah. Everybody go look at your animated GIFs. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're dealing with that and some other surprises. We haven't quite got through that. We're halfway through that fight. That was the one where we had the round that was terrible, and I don't know what's going to happen because our whole first round missed. And when you're, 8th or 9th level characters, you do not want your whole first round of everything you do to miss. But we'll have to see how that goes. I'm sure we'll be playing this week. That's on Danimal's channel, our digital dungeon master from down under in Australia. We haven't said anything about DCC yet, so we should say something so we can do the emoji in chat.
Oh yeah, it's a good emoji
for our DCC.
Daniel's not even here.
Shame. Oh wow, shame. So I did not, but did Jordan at least cover for me and play a whole bunch of games since I didn't? Yeah.
Well, we played. I played the Vaesen game that
right
Game Master Nathan was running, and we finished that one, and it was fun. He tied it in well with like some of the backstories, especially mine with the whole mermaids cursed me old. But we had to go sailing around, and it was fun. I like the system. And I think I would really like to DM it because you when you roll, you succeed on a 6 on a D6. And so the idea is that I roll more D6s if I'm good at something. Mm-hmm. But you could still roll a whole bunch and be like, I didn't get 1 6, And so it's interesting like that because it is just chance. But then multiple sixes actually, like, you super succeed, and I liked that as well. So combat was fun, and it's a cool system. I was then reading that the same system is for Forbidden Lands, and somebody I saw on Twitter was running Forbidden Lands using Hot Spring Island. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So they're using the Forbidden Lands game system, but they're playing Hot Springs Island. So, yeah, it's right over there. Very exciting. And I was like, oh, that's fun, because I like Hot Springs Island. But we finished the game. Adventure. So we are having a board game night tonight. And if you guys follow me on YouTube, you probably saw that I did a poll because GM Nathan and I are willing to run games, and
I thought we were going to have Nathan on to talk about the game. We should have him on.
We can have him on next
have
week.
Him talk about like his expectations.
I gotta ease him into the whole streaming things. I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
No, he's in chat right now. He's like, oh, why not? But we can have him on next week. I'll talk to him tonight. But
we might have another guest next week, right? That's
April.
We got a super secret guest coming.
It is not a secret. It is not super secret, but there's no reason to talk about it just yet, because I don't need the whole project might be, it's all hush hush. Yeah, cool. But here are the games I said I was willing to run. Ultraviolet Grasslands, which is my friend Lex sent me that, and it's like a metal post-apocalyptic kind of game.
Okay, not one I thought would be on your list. Okay.
It looks really cool, and I'm willing to run it. And these are games that Jordan would be willing to run, kind of a thing. Mothership, which is one that we've been talking about.
You've been talking about that a lot, and you've been really wanting to do it. Yep.
That could be fun. Numenera is another one that I was like, I've only played Numenera. I would like to run it. I think it'd be fun. Dungeon Crawl Classics, because of course, but I don't think they're gonna choose Dungeon Crawl Classics. But but specifically, I said I would love to play the Lankmar DCC, which has no clerics. It's just wizards, thieves, and warriors.
Peril of the
And I think it'd be
Planet.
fun. And then the other one would be Peril of the Purple Planet, which would be fun. Which that's more of a sandboxy one. Kind of like Hot Springs Island, where you're just kind of exploring.
Did you say your D&D one yet?
No, I haven't. And then I would love to run D&D. And honestly, I'd run a lot of different D&Ds. I'd like to run some of the... I look over there because that's where I keep my published adventures. But I'd like to run some of the published adventures just because I think it's fun. And I like that we could go to a convention and be like, oh man, I totally played Tomb of Annihilation. And you just kind of have that camaraderie with strangers. Like, it's fun. So I was thinking about that. But then I'm like, I really liked Eberron, and I've never been able to like play an Eberron or run an Eberron game. It would be fun to do just like a solid Eberron game.
You played in one Eberron game.
Yes,
with me,
with you, but that was
it was fantastic.
It was okay. It was fun. Keith Baker wrote that. I think I shouldn't be like, oh, it was bad, but it was interesting. That was just a weird scenario because we were told that we were playing something that Elise wrote, and then it was changed last minute. And we're like, what's happening? Satine did. Yeah, that whole thing was funny. But so I don't know. I might run a D&D 5e Eberron game. Game Master Nathan said that he wants to run a Greek-style D&D game, which could be fun. So not necessarily using Theros, but there's a Odyssey of the Dragon Lords thing that came out. It was a third-party thing that he wanted to run with that. So we'll see. We're going to talk about it tonight.
What about Lucian's List?
What's Lucian's List? What is it? What are you going to run?
Lucian's List.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind doing a D&D. I've got to get the book in. Ptolus.
Yeah, Ptolus would be good.
Okay, so I'm looking at that one really good. I would want to play that one. I didn't see any of these on your game. I want to run... I'm getting the itch. I'm getting the drive. I want to run a mass game again.
Yeah, you like superheroes.
I keep getting bunches of messages. I did some videos on how to GM a mass game, and it's the only video I still get years later messages about. I wish you would do more videos on this. Like, I just constantly people send me that. I'm like, and it's getting me there to the point where I want to get back to it and play a cool mass superhero game with that system that we just got done playing with Monster of the Week style system and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Really fun. And then Forbidden Lands, I think would be really cool. Love that artwork. And then...
Oh, he's thinking.
Oh, man. There's
Dead
so
Air.
many good ones. I want to play The Strange, but I can't ever get anybody that wants to play it.
Yeah, well, I mean, The Strange, it's strange.
It is, but you get 2 characters, which I think would be the one thing
2
that
or
people
even
would be
3
like,
characters.
Ooh.
It's crazy. Yeah. I also just got Star Trek Adventures in the mail yesterday, but I don't think I have
a good Star
friends
Trek game
in my hometown who are willing to play that. But I have many internet friends who are willing to play that.
Yeah, so. I just started watching because we opted for the CBS streaming thing. It came with Amazon, and I just started watching Discovery, and it just pushed me back on a whole. Man, it'd be fun to do a Star Trek storyline of some sort game with people that like Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Those would be Lucians right now. Oh, and Delta Green. God, I love Delta Green. If you don't know what that is, think of like Cthulhu meets Vietnam.
There you go.
So
I don't think those are 2 very scary things. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the Vietnam War. Vietnam itself is a beautiful country.
The picture of it is tentacles ripping a helicopter out of the sky into in the jungle. Is the artwork for it? So I'm like.
No, there's just a lot of games to play, but it was interesting because, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more tonight, but the idea is like, there's a lot of things I want to play, but I also want people to be interested in what I'm running. And I think a lot of this came about is like, hey, we want to try new systems. But what I was trying to get across to my players is that I still really like 5th edition D&D. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I just don't necessarily want to do generic fantasy this. And so that's why I'm like, I would love to really be like, we're going to do a hardcore Eberron game. I'll write it or I'll adapt some older module or something. But I think that would be a lot of fun. So
where would your campaign go in Eberron? Because you've got a lot.
I want to explore the Mournlands. Yeah,
you want to do the Mournlands.
So like, I want to do a Mournlands thing where there's something happening with the Mournlands and you need to go in and actually like figure it out, because there's some really interesting rules about all of that stuff. So there's
my symbol to go, Jordan. The first of the month siren.
So good. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out and watching us live here on YouTube and Twitch. Really excited to have all of you here and just people chatting. It's good to see familiar names. You guys are all awesome. We will be back next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show, and I can tell you all about the games that we're going to choose to go forward with. It's going to be awesome. I know
we should ask Nathan if he can be on next week.
Yeah,
I'll talk to him.
We'll talk to Nathan, see if he wants to be on. That could be fun. And then we can talk about Vaesen and other games that he actually likes, because he reads a lot of games too, so he's really into it. Yeah. Anything we need to say before your siren keeps going? No?
Nope, we're good. Siren's good. See you guys in the comments. Right. See you next week. Oh, it just ended. Sweet. Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. Goodbye.
Bye.